This is Pure Middle of God. I'm Dan Cartwright, your host, and I'm here with Erik from Thunderbird Divine on Doomba Records.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry, I gotta crack up. That one was funny, dude.
Yeah, no, this is my life as a cartoon, man. Like you wouldn't believe it. I have a 100-pound German Shepherd over here, and I have a probably 5 to 8 pound Shih Tzu, and they're not friends.
Oh, well, it could have been worse, man. You could have had mine. Mine was a hybrid wolf, timber.
Oh, okay.
I'm not friends
Well,
with anybody.
yeah. Well, the German Shepherd. The thing is, the German Shepherd is a big baby. He's a suburban pup, whereas the Shih Tzu grew up on the streets. So even though the shepherd is really big, the Shih Tzu will boss him around like crazy. It
It'll hit
couldn't,
my
and like
sister.
they never know. I never know what I'm going to get out of them. You know, they're a couple of jerks sometimes. Like, of course, the minute I start talking to you, this fool decides to start picking with her, and I don't like you. I almost could have told you it was going to happen.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna worry about it. If you want me
Yeah,
to do the intro again, we can.
not at all. It's just as real can be.
Hey, so I was talking to Tommy, as you know, as of
Yeah,
yesterday. You saw the little clip in the interview where I put
yes, sir.
Thunderbird Divine. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to check out Last Laugh,
Yep.
and so I really dug it.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk a little bit about it. I know you're dropping it on Friday.
Yeah, the audio single, the single came out on the 9th, and then the video is coming out this Friday uh, at 7 p.m. We're gonna premiere it on YouTube, and we're gonna be in the chat and talking to folks about it and stuff. It's gonna premiere on the Black Doomba YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Eastern time uh, on the Black Doomba channel. We're pretty excited about it. You know, making videos is wild.
Oh, it's all good. I heard it was kind of funny though. You got like some comedy in it or something?
Um, I don't know. It's one of those things. You're in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So you know the expression, "I didn't know whether to shit or go blind."
Yeah, I know that.
So that's kind of where we live in the "I don't know whether to shit or go blind" world. So I guess some people might find it funny. We found it funny, but other people might take it seriously. It's all a matter of perspective, I suppose. Um, there's a part in the song that, well, we think is funny because in the recording, you know, in the bridge of the song, I have these grandiose visions for our music sometimes, and I wanted a choir. So we brought some ladies into the studio to sing some oohs and ahs, and then we triple, quadruple, quintuple tracked it to make it sound really big like a choir. So we've got these very pretty lady vocals in the background, and I'm singing over them, and it sounds like a choir. And so jokingly, we said, wouldn't it be funny if it was like in the video, it was us in choir robes pretending to sing that part? We thought it would be funny, like it made us laugh. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll order some choir robes off of Amazon. So we ordered 4 baptismal white robes. I think they were $10. They're not made out of much.
You just ruined my
Um,
fantasy now, man. But okay. I
yeah.
get it.
So we ordered 4 of those baptismal robes, and we did a second cutaway shot from the rest of the video of the 4 of us, you know, pretending to sing like a choir, and we have like this angelic light above us, and we're all like, you know. Um, Now, some people, like I said, some people might see it and go like, "That's scary," because what the fuck are these guys doing?
And
And
some
then,
people might take it the wrong interpretation and
yeah,
religion and all that. No, I get it, but you
some
know
people
what?
might just laugh, and that's what we intended it to be. But like, you know, I know it's first time I saw that shot, we we all laughed. We're like, perfect, looks awesome, you know. But you know, once you put, once you put something out into the world, it belongs to everybody. It doesn't just belong to you anymore. So it's open to anyone's interpretation at that point.
Yes, it is. And you know what? Stick to your guns, man. If they don't like it, fuck them. If they like it, great. If they hate it, let them gossip. Better publicity.
Yeah. Listen, if I worried about people liking stuff or not liking stuff too much, we never would have made this record because we did a lot of dumb shit with it. You know, I can't believe these two are doing it again. Cut it out. Cut it out. Don't be a jerk, man.
Have you ever heard of a bully stick?
Yeah, yeah, he eats
You know
those.
what? That's what you should do when you're going to do an interview. Toss each one of them two bully sticks and let them go down on that.
Yeah,
That'll be about 30 minutes for each one of them to chew up.
Right. Well, yeah, it's right now they just want to be around me because I'm here and my girlfriend's not home.
Oh,
So
okay. So mommy's away and they want attention.
they
I
want
get it.
attention, dad. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So if they're going to be in the same place, they're gonna beef with each other. Right now they're calming down, but these two, you never know what these jerks are going to do.
Right. Hey, so how did you come across Tommy's label anyway? I'm kind of curious.
So it's an interesting story. We met Tommy maybe 2 years ago at Maryland Doomfest when we played. That Maryland Doomfest is an awesome time, and they usually have great vendors. And Tommy was one of them. And we met him, and I spent a little time talking to him. He's a nice dude, and Tommy's one of the nicest guys you could hope to meet. Been in the industry for a very long time,
Oh,
and
Tommy's a stand-up guy. Anyone
absolutely,
ever says that at the bottom, they don't know him.
you're absolutely right. He's the kindest, most friendly, outgoing, and straightforward dude you could hope to meet. Um, so that's when we had met him. Now, previously, we had put out some records with a different label called Salt of the Earth Records, which I heartily recommend that you talk to Scott Harrington from Salt of the Earth Records. I would, if I was you, I'd reach out to him. He's a super great guy, and we had put some records out with him. So when we finished this record, we had initially planned to put out the record with Scott, and Scott was going through some stuff. He had some like physical, medical issues. He's like, listen, I don't know if I'm going to be able to give this record the attention it deserves because of my physical, medical problems. So let me see if I can find somebody else to put out this record. Now you have to understand, you're in the music industry. That's an incredibly selfless thing to do.
Actually, that's some people would say that's a bad move, but in a
Well,
way, it's a good move for you. You know what I
well,
mean?
Scott, dear friend,
Right?
his wife has actually said, if you don't stay at our house, when you pass through Connecticut, you're in trouble with me, and I don't want to be in trouble with Mrs. Harrington. But they're great friends. We stay with them every time we go up to New England. They're some of my favorite people. I text Scott all day. I text his wife. We're all buddies. And so when he said, I'm going to find someone to put out this record for you, I said, that's great. And so he reached out to Tommy and talked to Tommy about Thunderbird Divine. And Tommy was like, I was just listening to their first record. So then we got in touch with each other and we talked a bit, and Tommy and I hit it off right off the bat. And I sent him the record because we had already finished it. And he listened to it and he really, really liked it. And he offered to put it out for us. And so that's how we ended up on working with Tommy. And he's one of the most transparent, straightforward guys you could hope to meet. And his
Yeah,
wife,
you're not going to get any blacker and white than Tommy.
no, he gave it to us 100% straight. He was like, look, so it's probably going to be about 6 months before this can come out. And here's the timeline. Here's what I need from you. And, here's what I'm expecting from you. And here's what you can expect from me. And he's been 100% above board with us about every single step of the way. You, like you said, you don't get anything more straightforward than Tommy. He gives it to you straight up. And also, he does it while being a very nice man, like a pleasant guy. And he is exceptionally passionate about music.
Oh, yeah.
And he, like I said, you want someone in your corner, right? You want someone like Tommy in your corner when you're making a
He's going to
record.
go, he's going to bat for you every time.
Yes, he does and has been. And so when he said, I need a couple of videos for it, we're like, we're going to make the best video we possibly can. And we did. And, everything we've given to him, he's been ecstatic about. We gave him the record. He loved that. We gave him the album cover. He loved that. We gave him the single cover. He loved that. Then we made the video and sent it to him. And he's like, this is the best video I've seen in 7 years.
Yeah,
So
because he went about it. He it's like he was trying to keep a straight face about it, and he just wanted to burst out yesterday on the podcast talking about it.
yeah, well, he's a super positive guy. That's the other thing. And like I said, he and his wife are just lovely people. Laura's a great lady. And we got to hang with them a little bit at the most recent Doom Fest. And it was just, we're very, very fortunate. We are blessed to, to work with Scott, because Scott's still our brother and still shares in
Let
our
me
joy.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
And it's nothing bad, but
Yeah.
apple and oranges, Scott and Tommy, which one handles the business a little bit better?
Well, they're different, right? So
Right.
Tommy was in a big metal band in his era. He was in Hallows Eve, and he was a superb, player and songwriter, and he toured all over the place. He's got tons of experience. Scott's younger than he is, and Scott was in a big metal band. He was in Nuclear Assault for a while, and it is apples and oranges. Scott is much younger and still, interested in playing that kind of metal. Mm-hmm. Whereas Tommy is doing his own sort of, I don't think he would be mad at me for saying, sort of weird thing that is like a drum and bass thing. And, they just handle things differently, but I don't want to say one is inherently better than the other. They're just different.
Which one do you feel more comfortable then?
To be honest, both. I mean, like the way Scott did things and worked with us was wonderful, because I've known Scott since about 2013. So we go back a ways, and we've been through all kinds of things. He worked with me when I was in a different band before, and has had my back since then, and continues to have my back. Like I said, he went to Tommy for us, and did the introduction.
That's a stand-up guy, though. I mean, really, just from one label to the next label.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, because you don't really hear that.
No,
you don't come across that, and so that's really cool. That's why I'm asking you this question: apple and oranges,
Yeah,
because
and it really kind of apples and oranges. Tommy handles things differently than Scott, but it's not so differently that it's like, well, this is clearly better or this is clearly worse. It's like they're both brothers. They're both,
they both know what they're doing. They just have a different formula.
Yeah, Scott has a different personality than Tommy, just like everybody has a different personality from everyone else. What they both are, though, is very, very transparent, very, very good and kind people. I trust both of them implicitly, which is very hard to do, as you probably know, in this business. There's a lot of people who will piss on your head and tell you it's raining.
And rip you off.
And these two have been straight up from the get-go. I would trust Tommy with anything we do, because I know he's an honorable man, and I absolutely trust Scott with anything we do, because he is also an honorable man. Like I said, Scott has welcomed us into his home. We've hung out with his children and his wife and his dogs. We've stayed at his house,
That's good. I mean, that says it all right there, and on the new album that you guys are releasing. So
yeah,
what is I'm trying to word it better. What are the new textures we're gonna hear compared to your previous album?
Okay, that's a very good question. How would I put it? One of my friends put it this way, and I think it's a very good way to put it, is, so we sort of do a thing where we don't say no to each other. Right? So if I'm when we were putting the record together, our drummer, for example, said, "Hey, Erik, can you write like a cowboy song, like a cowboy instrumental, you know, something like a spaghetti western type of song, and
Really?
to start the record with?" And I was like, "All right, let me see what I can do." And so I went home and I listened to some Ennio Morricone and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and stuff like that. And I came up with a chord progression that reminded me of, the ecstasy of gold from Good, Bad, and the Ugly. And we started fooling around with it. And the next thing you know, we've got sort of this cowboy song with the ladies singing, in the background. And
You're killing me with the choir, man.
yeah, well, you know what? I haven't, it's something I really like. I like
No, I love choir, but I'm just trying to picture it. You're going from from the last laugh and then to this country vibe. You know what I mean?
well, no, it's a cowboy song. So
Okay,
it's like,
well, you know what I mean. A
yeah,
cowboy.
Western. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Western. Okay, old Western style.
Yeah. So the point is we don't say no to each other. It's kind of like, an improv comedy where the whole rule is to do yes and. You never say like what? You just kind of go, yeah, let's do a cowboy song and I'm going to put some synthesizers in it. And I'm going to put a harmonica in it. And I'm going to put melodica in it. And I'm going to put choir lady vocals in there. And I'm going to put what else do we have in that song? Harmonica, melodica, organ, bass, two different basses, I believe. And then like a rolling marching snare drum thing going. So I mean that's just one example. So texturally, that's we just kind of go. So we just kind of try stuff until we find. I mean, and if it's stupid enough, it stays. You know.
Works. I mean, so far, I mean, it sounds cool. I can't wait to hear it. What? So that's
Okay.
gonna be the first track, the opening.
The first track is it's called Pony Express, and that's the opening track of the song. The opening track of the album is this sort of Western Ennio Morricone song that we put together, and yeah, that's the opening track. And then the very next song is like a big sort of like grungy, thick, sludgy thing, that's super emotional. And but even on that one, we have we have the organ and we have 12-string guitar and we have regular, electric guitar and we have tambourines and drums and bass. And
So
I have a go in
you're
there.
just basically experimenting on this album on different sounds and
Well, we
sounds.
always do. We
Oh,
always do.
okay.
That's always been like, how many metal guys do you know have a mandolin?
Not many, man. Not many.
I, and I mean, and that's just a coincidence. I just have instruments all over my house. Like right now, I'm sitting in my living room and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guitars right now.
Sweet.
So I mean, I'm always doing something, and like, yeah, the textures, they're important to us because when you make a recording, it's not like playing live. At least that's our perspective. You make a recording, you're making something that's going to be listened to over and over again.
Yeah, I look at when I'm making an album, and this is me personally, but
Mm-hmm.
I've always looked at it. This is my own masterpiece in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to breathe, and I wanted either go fast, go soft in certain sections. I want to have different timings. And I know a lot of the guys in my old band, they hated me for it. But at the end of the day, when we heard it, we're like, holy shit, man. This
Well, yes, I'm fortunate that the other 3 guys in the band do the yes and thing with us as well. Like we all, like I'll say our keys player, who is truly just, his name's Jack, and he's without question one of the most interesting guys you could ever hope to meet. He's just a fascinating dude and one of the nicest men also, but really, really creative. And I'll be like, do you think you could do a clavinet part on this? And he'll be like, I don't know, let's see. And he'll, bring up a clavinet patch and start blunking around, and I'll be like, yeah, that's it, And then I'll be like, ooh, I'll say to our bass player Josh, who engineered the record, and produced it. We all produced it together. I'll say to Josh, I'm like, I kind of hear a sitar part here, and he'll be like, bet, get the sitar. Let's find the spot. Let's find the thing. So I get the sitar, and we plug it into some things, and it's like, sometimes it'll be one of our big things is like, it doesn't really work that way. Maybe we should reverse it. So we'll do stuff like that. Like when we're in doubt, that's like one of our big things is like, let's see what it sounds like backwards. So we do a lot of that. We'll take samples off of YouTube and bit crush them, reverse them. And we use that sometimes. We'll loop things like that. We're like, oh, you know what? It might be cool to have some like psychotic laughter in the background here, but it's too straightforward when it goes forwards. So let's run it through an envelope filter and put it backwards.
Yeah, I've done that a few times myself. I like the way you guys think on creating. There should be more groups that should experiment like that. I think when you're experimenting, it actually develops your artistic side. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll put it this way. When you, like I was saying earlier, when you record something to put out on a record, that record's going to be listened to over and over again, and you're going to hear it over and over again. If in the recording process you're like, man, it would be really cool if I had a piano in there. Well, if you're a 4-piece band that's guitar, bass, and drums and a keyboard, but no one has an actual piano, you're like, well, how am I going to do that live? You know what? Don't worry about how you're going to do it live. Make the record you want to make.
Erik, I'm going to ask you this. Since you completed the album, okay? And listening back on it,
yeah,
and yourself as a musician like anybody else as a musician, where I'm going with this. What is one thing you think you could have done better now looking back after you finished it?
Oh, I have to narrow it down to just fucking one?
No. I mean, you can nail it down to.
Oh man, there's about a million things I would do different if I recorded it now. Like that's being a musician, right? Like you're like, what? It's like the old what's that old thing? It's like how many keyboard players?
You're never
well,
satisfied.
Yeah, right. And like, I'm sure every guitar player I know is going to be like, I could have done that better. You know what I mean? But you know what? You fucking didn't. So, you know what I mean? And like, every drummer I know is like, oh, I could smoke Mike, our drummer. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not here. So get fucked. You know what I mean? Like, what about, you know what I mean?
No,
so,
and the reason why I ask you this question is because, for the young kids that want to be musicians, and, that don't, and they're like, after they listen to their album, because, it's a little advice for them. You're never going to be satisfied with what you created.
Well,
afterwards.
Well, I'll put it this way. There are things I would change, but I'm very happy with the record. So, I mean, you're talking about, what I would do with the record. We finished the record in mid to late January, right? And now it's July. So we're looking at 7 months of listening to all that stuff a bazillion times since then. And of course, I'll go back and listen to, I'll hear it and be like, kind of wish I brought the banjo up more on this track, or I kind of wish, this thing was here or there. And maybe that's too much reverb on the vocals on that song. But as a snapshot of where we were when we made that record, I think it stands up very well, and I'm proud of it. There are things I would probably go back if I went back into it. I could pull down some faders and things like that, but like, that's just you'll make yourself nuts that way. You got to let sit as a piece of art as it is, and as it stands, and let it just be out there in the world and stand behind it.
At the end result, you're happy with what you created and all that. Now, what about what shows you got lined up? Who designed the album for you, the artwork? Uh,
Okay.
take it from
Okay. Okay. So the album cover was designed by our drummer, Mike Stewart, who is a brilliant artist and designer of his own in his own right. And he works in design regularly for his day job. And he put the thing together. We agreed on the name of the album, Little Wars. And we decided, he went with a theme with that, with sort of like a space carousel kind of character, to go along with that. And yeah, he did the design, and I think it's fantastic. We're very happy with it. It's very strong, so it makes us pretty happy. Oh, there's my phone telling me there's crime nearby. Shocking. So yeah, Mike did the design. And then it's going to come out in vinyl in, I believe there's 3 different versions. There's going to be the standard, like, listeners version that's black. And then there's a splatter version. And then Tommy's picked a color. And I don't remember what color it is. I think it's blue or something like that. We made these decisions several months back, and now I don't remember what colors the vinyl are going to be.
No, that's all right. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to get a sample of everything anyway when everything's.
Oh, yeah, we'll get our
done.
copies of it. We'll get our copies of it. And you know what? Here's what I'll say about the record as a whole. It reminds me of when I listen to the test pressings. It reminds me of like an old school record where you put on the record and you listen to side 1 and you flip it over to side 2, because you don't just listen to it a track at a time. You listen to the whole thing at once, because that's what it sort of demands. And that's, again, as the guy who's singing and playing guitar on the record, that's how I feel about it. But also as like a listener, I think I would buy this record if I wasn't a person, on the record. And then as for shows, we stay busy. We just played this past Friday, in a area in Pennsylvania called Kennett Square, which is known for mushrooms, by the way, not the fun kind, but just mushrooms. And then this weekend we have off, which is good because we're going to be busy next weekend. We have a show in Philly, and then we have a show upstate. The show we're playing in Philly will be at the Century Bar in Philadelphia with some friends of ours on a tour from New England. And then Saturday we're playing about 300 or 400 miles from here in a town called Kane, PA. We're doing this festival. It's the first year they're doing this festival called the WSF Festival up in Kane, and that's on the 27th. And then we're doing something, and like I'm actually having trouble keeping track of all this stuff. We're playing a hearse show in Philly where like the people who own hearses get together and show off their hearses in a cemetery in Philly. I wish I could make this up. I was making this up, but we're doing it. So we're playing a hearse show in Philly in August, and then the album comes out. Of course, my dog is hacking up a lung right now. That's wonderful. Thank you, Miley. So yeah, we stay busy, and I'm sure we have plans on doing some touring in the fall, and then on and on. We try to keep the van out of my driveway and on the road.
Well, that is cool.
Thank you. Well, the other thing is, I'm very fortunate. These guys that I work with are great. Like,
oh, they sounded, man. I can't wait to see the video too. So
I think
I already got you on my YouTube. You're already set there for your premiere,
great.
So I'll check that out. And I wish I had like a little snippet of the video with the church choirs in the studio or something to add into this.
And
But It's okay.
I'm forbidden to share anything until
Yeah.
Friday.
But that would be awesome, don't you think? Because you're talking about it and just have a little
Yeah, you
silent picture.
into it. Yeah.
You
Well, you
know,
know that I can send you a still shot of us um, in the robes.
you know what? Do that. I'll add it in there and you know,
Yeah. Yeah, you can float it across the screen when I'm talking about it. I'll send
yeah,
you a still shot of us in the robes. It when we put the robes on and like the other guys were walking around the room. Of course, I was the last one to put mine on because I was making sure everybody else had theirs. And like the next thing I knew, I looked around and the other three guys are walking around in these long white robes, and I just started cracking up. It looked like a bunch of dirty ghosts walking around, you know.
that's all
Um,
good, man. It's all good. I can't wait to see the video, man. I'm
it's
excited about it.
I'll tell you what, I've never made a video before. Um, I mean, I've been on video before. I went to film school and shit,
Yeah,
but I've never made a music video that I was in before. And I'm not a young man, and it takes a lot out of you.
it does, man. You know what? Me and you, Tommy, all of us, we're right up there now. But you know what? We're still making it happen. You know,
What other choices do we have, right?
hey, man, it's the love that we have for the music. That's what it is.
Well, let me tell you though, a 6-hour video shoot will kick your ass. And I'm over here throwing my fat ass around like I'm some 20-year-old. I was no good for like 3-4 days.
You know what, man? I've been there. I know how you feel. I'm glad that I retired from the industry. I'll stick to the podcast, and that's enough work for me now.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, it's people say it's a young man's game. It isn't though. It's just some things aren't as good for old men.
But
you
you know
know.
what it is? Look, it doesn't matter what age you are, as long as you're producing good music for the people, that's all that matters. At the end of
Oh,
the day, that's all that matters.
listen, I'm doing the best I can. The rest of the boys are doing their best. I feel very fortunate and very blessed to work with such open-minded. I mean, I actually really like my bandmates a lot. A lot of bands they can't say that. Like, they'll go out and play music together, and then they'll be like, "Well, you know how that one is."